What is a project director? Do you want to be a project director or a better one? What is the focus of a project director? How do you do it well? And how can you really learn to enjoy this position? We're going to describe that in this video, and we're going to dig even deeper in another video that we'll link you to in the description below. So stay with us. This is amazing content. So let's talk about the role of a project director. If I'm pulling this into the framework of all of the other positions, I will look at the superintendent as in charge of the day-to-day, all operations in the field and assisting and working in the office as well, but in the field to make sure that all long-term and short interval milestones and schedule dates are being hit. The project manager will be the curator of the entire project, bringing in resources and making sure that the project team is supplying everyone in the field with what they need. Now, the project director, if I'm looking at the superintendent as the day-to-day and the project manager is the long-term person that brings everything together, I'm looking at the project director as somebody who really oversees the success of the project from the start all the way to the finish, but for multiple projects, and somebody who really develops and starts the relationships with the clients and uses the project manager, or utilizes rather, the project manager to help him or her to do so. The key thing, in my opinion, that a project director will do is to really be with people, build people, and build the team. Like if you look at a general superintendent as an accountability person, as an accountability partner, as somebody who trains, develops, and oversees, you would look at a project director as somebody who basically builds and connects people. So they've got to be really good at networking, really good with people, and also have the nuts and bolts skills of overseeing a project from start to finish. And like I said before, do this with multiple projects. So let's get started. The project director, from a responsibility standpoint, is to take a project from its inception. That also means the proposal and the interview and the award of the project, all the way to the finish, and to nurture that relationship with the client. A project manager and a superintendent will also have some of these duplicate responsibilities, but for the most part, the PM and the super are really focused on the project from start to finish. Excellence. But a project director will be wooing clients, developing relationships, adding value to clients even when we're not doing an active project with them, and attempting to curate an experience where that client will want to become a repeat customer. A project director will make sure that not only are we meeting the customer's needs, but that the project is hitting its goals. We are delivering according to customer expectations. We are hitting the end date, and we are doing it for and hitting our budget targets, but doing it for a proper fee. Oh, the other thing that I would like to say is that a project director is really going to develop clients with the trade partners and the designers and all other stakeholders as well. So this person is ultimately responsible and really bridges the gap between customer and team and corporate and team, right? That's the person that brings this project in. Ooh, this is the best way to explain it. This is good stuff right here. A project director brings the project into the overall context of the rest of the company and into the context of the client, and anchors that project as a way to do repeat business and to build and run a successful construction company. So let's go through the answer to what is a project director one by one. Number one, project planning and the overall project strategy. So at the early phases of the project, you have the project director really wanting to be awarded this job in the proposal and the interview. That project director will pull in other resources like the PM and the superintendent to develop the proposal and to do the interview with him or her. But really the inception starts with the project director. The best project directors I've ever worked with had a vision for how they wanted the project to go. Now, from the time you're awarded the job to the time when you start, that plan will become more the PM and the super's plan, and they will own it more. But it starts out with the project director. So the overall parameters, the conditions of satisfaction, what would make for a successful project, what's important to the client, what things really need to be a focus on the job, all come from the project director. So let's go back to this what and how. The what of what we're going to do for the client comes from that director, and the how and the ownership of that plan really becomes owned by the PM and the superintendent. So throughout pre-construction, the project director will check in at different points throughout, be a large participant in the creation of the GMP submission, will be a part of the review and the fresh eyes meeting with the project team, and will do checks. And let me give a shout out to one of the industry partners out there, or somebody who I love working with, Hensel Phelps. They have a 0 point, third point, 2/3 point, and final project review for their projects. And that's where you like literally stand and deliver your plan for that project. And somebody like a project director or an operations manager would dive in and make sure that that plan is going forward according to the vision. So if I'm using the Hensel Phelps example, a director would be in that 0 point, 1/3 point, 2/3 point, and then project closeout. And making sure that we're on track throughout from a planning and strategy standpoint. Number 2, stakeholder management. Now, a lot of the day-to-day will be handled by the PM, but the PM is overseen by the project director for managing and maintaining that client, for adding value, for communicating, for solving problems, addressing concerns, being in OAC meetings, and making sure that that client is a raving fan and that they are listened to. So one of the main responsibilities of a director is to really manage the stakeholders and manage the client. Number 3, team leadership and management. It's really hard because the PM will do a lot of this, but the director will build the team, assemble the team according to their strengths and abilities, really make sure that the initial kickoffs and the collection or the organization or creation of the team is going well. And then once the team meetings are established, the office trailer is established, and the team seems to be functioning, we'll turn over a lot of that to the PM. But if there's ever a major problem, if there's ever something that needs to be solved, the director will always be building and leading and managing that team. Number 4, the director will do quite a bit when it comes to signing that prime agreement, to negotiating that initial contract with our client, and in negotiating large contracts with our trade partners. So that initial contract with the owner is huge. Once we have that, now the team knows what they're going to follow. Once we have the major contracts with the trade partners, now the team knows what their scope of work is. So the director will always make sure that he or she is a large part of the key contract negotiations, which always includes the prime agreement with the owner. 5, budgeting and financial management. This is when you're looking into your projections, your job cost reporting, you're looking at contingency, looking at the financial health of the project. This will typically be done in a monthly status report or project review, where the project director will work with the team and go through those projections and check in and make sure that we're on the right track. Number 6, schedule management. In that same meeting, the project director will check out the overall master schedule, the project level TAC plan, and to make sure that we have enough buffers, we're on a good flow, and that everything is heading in a strategic way where we can finish this project successfully, right, on time, right, under budget. And if the director is really doing his or her job in a wonderful company system, he or she will receive a report on how many buffers are remaining, are we on track, and other key performance indicators from a scheduling standpoint weekly for all of his or her projects, and dive in when needed. 7, quality assurance and quality control. This might seem like something that's too close to the work, but I remember when I was a project director, I would literally go out in the field and do spot checks, make sure that we were following our processes for port checks, in-wall inspections, overhead inspections, and that the team was delivering from a system standpoint on quality control on the job site. Number 8, risk management. And this is huge. This goes all the way back to the video of how to run a project step by step. A project director has got to make sure the team knows all of the requirements on the job and what are the risks in getting there. And so those risks must be on a risk and opportunity register, constantly discussed in team meetings, and what that director will do is check in at least monthly, if not weekly, to make sure that those risks are being mitigated and that opportunities are being realized. So one of the main things that a project director will do is to make sure that he or she is keeping their finger on the pulse of risks. Number 9, safety and compliance. This is a big one. I don't care how of how big of a big shot you are. Safety and compliance is a big deal. You set the example. When you go to the project site, you check in on safety first thing. You get a feel for that job every time you visit. You go out and do a field walk, and if it's not up to the standards, you talk to the superintendent and the PM, and you make sure everything gets straightened out. That site should be perfectly clean, safe, and organized. And the directive and the accountability for that starts with you. Number 10, project closeout and handover. You'll make sure that, hey, it's one thing to finish the job, but it's another to make sure that we're handing it over properly to the owner with any training, with any warranty period, any change orders that the end users need, and that the client is receiving a remarkable experience. And you know what? One thing that would be a remarkable experience for me is if you liked this video and the algorithm would share this for more people, and hopefully project directors, so they can get the same content. And so as you can see, a project director will really play a crucial role. One of my best bits of advice for a director is to get into those team meetings once a week or every other week or at least once a month and see how the team is functioning, shape a culture, and make sure we have a plan for the future and lead and build that team. Here are some really quick tips as we close that you can follow to really leverage your role as a project director or to coach a director that might work for you. Number 1, do not have too many projects. You shouldn't dig in too deep on these unless it's required and micromanage or helicopter parent these jobs, but you definitely have to have time to check in, so you can't have like 13 jobs. You really need to leave it to like 3 to 9, probably 9 max, and unless they're small jobs, obviously the numbers increase, but don't get overextended. 2, always do quite a bit of training. Yes, you're overseeing and making sure that you're leading people, but train, 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 train. A great director will build a team of people who are loyal, who know what they're doing because of training. Number 3, a director will always set up standard systems for all of his or her projects, especially in pre-construction, so that he or she can teach that, anchor the teams, and everybody knows what to expect. 4, always follow a process. When we are doing the check-ins on the job or the pre-construction effort or the monthly review, make sure that all people that are participating as a part of those reviews or those activities know what the process is every time. So when the director arrives, he or she's not there all the time, they know what to expect and they can follow the process. Number 5, a director out of all positions must be a master at personal organization and set an example. 6, a director is always building the team, taking them on outings, making sure that we're having hard conversations, building them in team meetings, really like building trust, making sure they're going through those 5 behaviors, building the rest of the trade partner team as well, and always anchored on a key milestone. And number 7, don't forget as a director to be a master builder. You are there to dig in, dig deep, and to really, from a coaching one-on-one standpoint or with the entire team, show how to dig deep and redline and double check and make sure that we're sticking back to the basics and doing things on a fundamental level. Remember, project directors are fundamental builders first. And as I close, I'm going to give you in the description below a scorecard in Canva that outlines the complete role of a project director and the amazing things that they're responsible for so that you can use it to improve your role or your company. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.